Hey, what's going on? Finally got back to recording something. It's been a hot minute. I'm currently in my Mombasa apartment. Super duper hot today, and I'm sweating like a mofo. So I'm gonna try and get through this as quickly as possible because these lights are cooking me. I'm gonna be reacting to a recent video that came out from Oshay Duke Jackson's channel, Kenganda. If you're not familiar with Oshay, he talks about issues related to the diaspora, and Kenyan, Ugandan issues. His guest in this video, her name's Taudre. She is apparently an expat who lives in Nairobi. I'm not super personally familiar with her. I haven't watched her channel before. I don't really hang out with a lot of the expats who live here. I've only met a couple and no one who really makes content, just because I'm so wrapped up with my own stuff and what I have going on with my family. So I figured I'd give it a shot, see what she gets right, things that she might get wrong, from my perspective about moving to Nairobi. And yeah, so let's just jump into it.
What's good, Kenganda? It's your boy Oshay Duke Jackson, back with another episode of the Expat podcast, and I'm here live in Nairobi, Kenya, and I have a very wonderful guest, and I want her to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Taudre Delora Mourier, and I'm also a host of a pod called Blaxit to Africa. And I do fashion tours in Nairobi, Blaxit to Africa, relocation and consultations. And I also have a fashion and a Nairobi city guide.
Give her a round of applause. So I met Taudre, it was Nexus, right?
Nexus.
Yeah, Nexus Group. And brother Kevin Morrison, I met him at Art Cafe.
Okay.
And he's introduced himself and told me about it. And that's how I met you. It was a wonderful event. I really enjoyed myself. And you were talking about you have like a city guide or repack guide.
So we met briefly because I had another event. I wish I could.
So I have no idea what Nexus Group is. I'm gonna have to look that up. But Art Cafe is kind of like, between Art Cafe and Java House, those would probably be the Dunkin' and Starbucks of the Nairobi Kenyan scene, I guess.
Could have stayed. It was just so beautiful. Like, we had Kenyans in there. We had, diasporans from around the world.
South Sudanese.
Diasporans. Yeah. So basically, I have a Nairobi city guide.
Okay.
Because, Nairobi's not the type of city where you've got districts. Like, you might have like a wholesale district here. You might have a jewelry district here. Nairobi, things are spread all over the place. And people really tend to struggle in terms of like finding out where to get the best produce, where to go shopping, who the best fundies are. So I created this Nairobi guide to help people out.
When we say people, let's just, minimize it if we can. Like, a lot of the people from the diaspora, the African-American community, or maybe even some people that be coming from the Caribbeans.
And even Kenyans. Like, I've had Kenyans reach out to me and actually.
And she's really right. Like, a lot of the penetration that you would expect from Google, right? Though more expats have moved to the city, it's still relatively new to a lot of us. And Nairobians know this. Kenyans know the stuff that goes on here. But the average person, like, even if you normally you go to like a city in like New York, Chicago, Atlanta, whatever, it's like, I want a bagel, and you put it in Google Maps. That's not reliable. I just had an issue a couple of days ago trying to get bus tickets for one of my nieces-in-law, and I used a service that I thought was legit that had a bunch of good reviews, but it didn't translate to an actual functional ticket. So when you look for things, restaurants, clothes, whatever, it's helpful to have a local or a guide, I assume, like Taudre has made, to kind of help you navigate. Me, I never personally used any of those. I just relied on my wife. So, I haven't had to do a lot of the trial and error that a lot of other expats have.
Purchase guides because, Kenyans are all over the world.
Yes.
So when they come back for holiday, or maybe they've been gone for 6 years, so much has changed. We're in Kilimani right now.
Yes.
Kilimani is just changing rapidly.
Right.
So you'll need a guide.
Okay. So for first timers coming from our community or the African-American community coming into Nairobi, what are some of the things that they should, in your opinion, may want to see or should see to get familiar?
To get familiar, I think one of the first things that I would tell people, like let's say you're purchasing an apartment or you're leasing an apartment and you need furniture. I love purchasing from local carpenters or fundis, we call them.
Okay.
However, you will be so frustrated with just dealing with anybody that you find on the side of the road. You want to fight somebody.
Right.
Trust me, believe me.
Hit them with the left hook?
You want to fight somebody. But Red Hill Road is an area where you can find a lot of carpenters. You can get your beds made, your tables, all of this stuff. And my advice to you is do not order nothing off the side of the road. You buy what they have right then and there. If they don't have it, then you go someplace else. Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? Because you can buy things that are produced in China, produced in Turkey, right? But it's not made with African wood. It'll be like, I don't know, like some sort of manufactured, what's the word? MFA? Is that what it's called? The manufactured wood?
So what she was talking about was called medium density fiberboard. It's kind of the stuff when you buy cheap stuff from China in the States or like IKEA or something like that. That's generally what it's made of. And I don't think I have any MDF stuff in my house at all because, again, I just have my wife go through it. The issue that she's kind of talking about is it's sometimes called the Mzungu tax, where if you don't speak Swahili, if you come off as someone who's easy to rip off, you're going to be taken advantage of. And again, I've never experienced this. I have no idea what this is like because my first foray into Kenya, I was like, I wanted to get married. I wanted to have a wife. I wanted to have kids. So I met my spouse. We got things popping, and she's kind of taken care of all that stuff for me. But it's real. Like, there's plenty of times when we've gone out, and she said, you know, hey, don't talk. Just kind of stand there, and I'll handle everything. It can kind of be solved by speaking Swahili a little bit, but unless your accent is near native, people are still going to know you're, a foreigner, and they're going to try and take advantage of you.
Where it's just got the veneer.
Right.
But then you got all these amazing fundis.
Okay.
So use them, but you have to source them correctly. So that's where my guide comes in.
Okay. Shout out to my friend Raymond Kahuma. He is from Uganda but lives here. And if I want to show a picture of his nice desk, and it's nice, but he had a hell of a time trying to get this desk. And you'll face similar issues in Uganda. So I can say, because you lived in Uganda for a minute, we'll talk about that.
Right.
So that experience carried over to here. Okay. So this is if you're relocating here, right?
Right.
Okay. What if a person is visiting, trying to get their feet wet to see if they want to stay here?
So if you're visiting, right, then you want to go to restaurants, you want to go to lounges, etc. So I've been to all of these places that I recommend, and every month I will update the guide, right, so that people know where to go. It's interesting because we have a lot of restaurants in Nairobi specifically. And when it's hot and everybody wants to go to it. But if you're a foodie, you'll definitely want my guide.
Okay. How much is the guide, by the way?
The guides are $25. So I have a Nairobi City guide, which is just basically where to shop, where to go, where to get your appliances. Like, okay, obviously you can go to the mall, but if you want like a real experience and you also want to purchase wholesale, I'm going to send you down to Kamkunji, which is going to be a whole experience in and of itself.
Okay.
Then I also have a fashion guide. So that's for men and women. It tells you where to get handbags, where to go to find tailors, where to go for luxury, where to go for budget, etc. One of the things that you might have some people watching who love to thrift. You've got Toy Market, which is a huge outdoor market where you can get damn near everything. From household items to clothing to shoes.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I saw I lived in the Atlanta area. I spend a lot of time there in my travels. I kind of bounce between Atlanta, NYC, DC, and parts unknown when I'm overseas. And I saw a KSU shirt. It's Kennesaw State University. And I was like, oh wow, like, hey, did you go? And it was just some thrift market, whatever, that someone ended up putting on.
Wow.
So, all of this stuff that we give away to the Goodwill in the US, it ends up here. In the
Whoa.
so-called
Okay.
global South, right? So Ghana has an issue with the stuff in with how the clothes, a lot of the clothes are not wearable that
Okay.
end up here.
Okay.
So they end up in landfills. That's a problem.
Okay.
But then there's a small percentage that is wearable.
Okay.
And you can go to Toy Market and you can get these things.
Wow. And you've been here how long and figured all this out? 4 years.
Yeah, I should know. But I go off the beaten path. A lot of expats or immigrants, whatever you want to call us,
Right.
just stay in their bubbles.
Now, before they get into the next topic, that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I haven't interacted a lot with the expat community overseas. Like I said, I came here to kind of like have a family. I wanted to live a Kenyan experience. So I go back and forth a lot. I'm not physiologically in the country as much as probably Oshay or what's his name, Austin, or any other Kid Greatness or any of those other guys. But I would argue that my lived experience is more authentic, right? The primarily spoken language in my house is Swahili, right? My house girls are all Swahili speakers. When I have estate meetings, which I don't even know if they'll talk about this later. I'll probably cover it in the video, later video if they don't. The estate's kind of like an HOA. It's like an HOA, but not. Those are all Kenyans, right? I'm not interacting with Americans or expats. There's like 2 families of expats in the community that I live in, and they kind of keep to themselves. Whereas I don't have the option of, kind of living like that, just paying my mortgage. I just, I live a fairly more authentic Kenyan experience than a lot of the expats do. So it's kind of why I've ended up keeping it myself.
But for me, like that's part of my adventure. Some people jump out of planes. My adventure is like, let me go to this outdoor market. Let me figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm what you described. I don't even know what street I damn near live on. The guy's like, sir, where do you live? I'm like, get a phone to the
No.
That's me. But that's genius. So let's talk about I met so many Americans there from Philly. I think we might have been the only people there from the West Coast.
It's
And
not a lot of us here.
right.
It's a lot of people here from like Georgia and from Philly. I wonder why
Philly,
that is.
I saw somebody from New York City,
Okay.
DC, Baltimore, the DMV.
Okay,
I saw a
okay.
lot of that.
But what's up with the West Coast?
I got a theory about the Philadelphia's. It's more pro-black thought in the city culture, or as
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged. Part of the reason when I left active duty that I moved to Atlanta was so that I could be around a lot more black folks and like in a black city. And part of the reason I chose Kenya is because Kenya's one of the more developed African countries. And my decision to come here was also largely influenced by my Pan-African pro-diaspora views. So I get what he's saying.
it is. So Philadelphia, Dr. Umar,
Yeah.
the Richard Allen,
Yeah.
the East Coast is real big on, like Lenox Ave,
I feel
Harlem.
you. Okay.
Yeah, you kind of the 5% Nation of Islam is strong there. So that kind of people who come to Africa typically come from those kind of strong,
Okay.
Us, if, outside of Oakland and Leimert Park, you know what I mean? It's not really so strong.
You're right.
Yeah.
California is like 6% black.
6%
And
black.
it's a big ass state. It's a wealthy state.
But we are heavy hitters though on the West Coast. Don't play. Like we're here. So don't play with it. I saw a lot of people move into one of the 3 areas. And maybe you will know more, but when I talk to people, it's Kilauea, it's Kilimani, I don't know anybody in Westlands. And I think I know why, because it's kind of busy and it's kind of congested maybe a little bit. That's what I heard. But Lavington, what are the areas that African Americans are moving to, or people from the diaspora are moving to, and why?
Before they get into the neighborhoods, this kind of reveals to me why this is a blind watch for me too. I haven't seen this before. Why I haven't run into any expats really, because they live kind of all kind of clumped together in like the very expensive those neighborhoods, Kileleshwa, Lavington, Westlands. They're kind of marketed to non-Kenyans. There are wealthy Kenyans who like maintain residences there, or maybe they'll rent or whatever. But Kenyans who might even have the same income level, don't really live there. I'm not going to go into the neighborhoods that I've lived in, at least not publicly. But yeah, I haven't lived in any of those because, again, my spouse picked where we lived. And we had nice houses. We had big houses. The house that we live in now is really nice. So it's not like you're gonna have any drop in quality. It's just, people are going. You're gonna have a more expat centric experience, a non-Kenyan experience, if you live in those neighborhoods versus if you live somewhere like Athi River or Kikuyu Town or Kitengela, right? You almost never hear any of the expat content creators talk about those places, because those are the places that Kenyans live, right? The Kenyans who have a bit more money might move to those neighborhoods. The Kenyans who have a bit more money might get a condo off Mombasa Road, right? Or in something like Milolongo or Syokimau, right? But the expats don't live there. So that completely explains to me why I've never run into these people.
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that, because when I do my consultations, I have a list of neighborhoods in Nairobi that I recommend for expats. And then I also have a list of towns on the coast of Kenya that I recommend. Yeah. So Kilimani, Kileleshwa, those are middle class areas. So it's a lot of high-rise buildings now.
Right.
Which, if you like that, you like that. I'm not somebody who does.
Okay.
And then they also have like older maisonettes and apartments from the 70s.
Okay.
Though I prefer an older build with the hardwood and all of that.
Okay.
Right? But then you also have upper class areas as well.
Okay.
Lavington, which is next door to Kileleshwa.
Yes.
You've got Kitasuru, especially if you have a family and you want space.
Okay.
I would recommend a Kitasuru. There's so many different neighborhoods.
Okay.
Lavington has homes and properties, but they also have, like, what do they call them? Villas. Which in the States, we would call them more like a townhome. Yeah.
Okay. And
Westlands is still popular though, but you have to know that Westlands has that commercial area, right?
Right.
But then it's also got very residential areas too.
Okay. Which area do you think people from our community are coming towards?
People really tend to like Kilimani and Westlands. I think more so because it's affordable, and there's also a lot of singles coming.
Okay, so yeah, this makes way more sense to me now. So when she says affordable, right? This is that's affordable relative to the States, right? If you're used to paying $3,000, $4,000 a month for a single bedroom apartment, $2,000 for a 2-bedroom condo, or a 3-bedroom condo, or even a 4-bedroom townhouse might seem like a bargain. You're being ripped. I'm just gonna tell you right now, you're being ripped off if you're spending that much, right? The prices in, Runda, Kileleshwa, Kilimani, Westlands, Lavington, they are those neighborhoods. I'm just be honest. They are built and sold as a discount because it looks like a discount when you're coming from outside of the United States. Well, when you're coming from the United States. If you move to there are plenty of neighborhoods that give you the exact same quality. Maybe you're a little bit further from things in CBD, but you're going to get the exact same quality, and the price is, man, 1/2 to 1/3 of what you would see in those neighborhoods. But if it's kind of like when people move from California to Austin or Atlanta and they sell their $1.5 million 3-bedroom for a $500,000, $1.5 million 3-bedroom condo for for a $500,000 4-bedroom house, or $1.5 million 6-bedroom house, right? That house is cheap to them given the amount of space and what they're used to coming from Cali. But for the area, that house is super overpriced, and it ends up, influencing the prices of everything around it negatively for the locals, because they're not coming with that, just moving from California money. And it's the same thing's kind of starting to happen in Kenyans as well.
Right, but if you have a family, you're gonna be looking for something a little bit different.
Okay.
Like, I feel like Westlands has more options for people that are coming with family, and there's a lot more of us that are actually coming with our aging parents. Like, my mom is here.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
My mom is here. She's in Karen, and I'm over in Milimani, which is like a small neighborhood within Kilimani.
Okay. Okay. So, what are some of the culture shocks? I remember mine with Uganda, but coming from America and you decide that this is a place you want to visit or you want to move, this is an excellent place to move. I'm convinced, right? I'm convinced.
Are you coming? Are you coming?
We plead the fifth right now, but
You can go back and forth. I'm gonna tell you straight up, for me, what sold me, because I was in Uganda for 2 years. So what sold me was the urban green spaces.
okay.
You're from Northern California?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm from Southern California. We both have lots of outdoorsy spaces.
Yes.
Hiking, all of that. Beach. So I miss the urban green spaces. Kampala is very congested, and if you want to go to a park, where would you go?
There is no park.
There is, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would have to go to Buziga, which is a private owned park. The sister who produced the show, what was the movie with Lupita Nyong'o about her playing chess?
I don't know that one. I need to get out. I don't know.
Okay,
You
so
gotta pray
she
for me.
produced that. And then I would also have to go out to Entebbe
Oh yeah.
for the
Zoo park.
it's the is it an arboretum that they have
yes,
out there?
yes, that's true.
Right. So Nairobi has a lot of urban green spaces. Right. My favorites are Nairobi Arboretum, which is walking distance from my house, and then there's also Karura Forest.
Yeah, Karura Forest. I don't know if I included it in. I think I have some video of me and my stepdaughter out in Karura Forest. But again, that's another one of those, like, it's Kenyans, even Kenyans with money, they're not going to go to Karura Forest like that, right? That's a very Western, foreigner-centric kind of touristy spot. If you're living a more authentic Kenyan experience, right? Karura Forest isn't anything. If I want to go to a forest, I'll just go to Meru, right, for the weekend and go to my property up there, and that I might run across an elephant while I'm out there. It's a different, like, it's I'm not going to say it's inauthentic, but it is not as authentically a Kenyan experience. It's definitely far more geared towards expats and immigrants who are coming to Kenya. It's nice, like Kenyans. There's Kenyans who go there. Definitely members of Kenya's upper crust who walk around and go to the restaurants there. There's a restaurant in Karura Forest that has really good, like, a little cafe. Can't remember what it's called, right off the top of my head, but they might mention it in the video, who knows. But yeah, like it's very revealing to me, especially considering she's been here so long. But it also makes sense too, because she's single, right? She's single. She probably doesn't speak that much Swahili, so yeah, like I get it. Reaction's taken entirely too long. I'm gonna split it into 2 parts. You can probably catch the second half later this week, but if you've enjoyed the video so far, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you later.